This is Gregge Stewart, life coach. Today we have a great show for you. And before we get started, I want to welcome new listeners, and I also want to welcome back my old listeners. And welcome. I'm honored to have you here listening on today's topic. And today's topic is very interesting. But before we go there, I'd like to have you, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, like, share, and of course, comment, because these particular subjects help people that are listening to the show and saying, wow, I'm going through that right now. And today we're going to discuss a particular relationship of one of my clients. One of my clients, for violation, we don't want to have any violations, and for her privacy, as well as the gentleman and the people that are involved in this story, we've changed the names. So the names that are going to come up in this case are Jennifer, Warren, Brad, and Eddie. So Jennifer, longtime client, she says, I'm no longer obviously seeing Brad or Eddie. Eddie was more frequent. He was closer to now. Brad was from a few years back, but the reason why they play a part in this is because I'm still friends with them via talking with them. Nothing more, nothing less. All of a sudden, I met this gentleman named Warren. Great guy. I feel a pretty good connection with him. I feel like we could evolve into something, Jennifer says, but I talk to Eddie all the time, and even though we don't see each other, Eddie heard that I'm now interested in someone else, and he goes, hey, can we meet up just as friends? You know, we always talk on the phone, we always email, we always text, but can we actually go out as a friend? Well, I'm sort of, seeing this guy now. And he says, but are you officially seeing him? Because all I'm asking you is a friendship. So he lowers her guard and she says, yeah, I can do that. And she goes out with him. They have a few drinks. They visit some spots that they did when they were dating. A little nostalgia happens and she ends up sleeping with him. So now she goes back to Warren, doesn't say anything, starts dating him. Eventually, she reaches out to Eddie. She does it one or two more times. She thought maybe there was something still there, but you know what? It didn't work for a reason the first time, and we stayed friends. I don't want that complication. Eddie says, okay, so I guess I'm out of the picture. No problem. And she sees Warren more exclusively. So as she's seeing Warren, she doesn't emphasize anything. 3 to 4 months go on. She's seeing Warren exclusively at this point. She's seeing Warren exclusively, and she felt we're really moving in the right direction. We've even already spoke about getting married, and he definitely is a catch, gives me security, gives me attention. I feel valued. I don't want to have a blemish on our record, even though technically we were just dating. We wasn't exclusive. I think it's only fair that I tell Warren what happened about and with Eddie. So that's exactly what she does. She tells Warren, and this doesn't sit well with Warren. Now, Warren, he doesn't go screaming and freaking out, but he definitely said, this definitely puts something on me to where I'm questioning our future possibilities. And maybe we should take some time to really reiterate what we want. She goes into a panic. She goes, no, it's over. What can I do to show you that it's over? I told him, but I won't have anything to do. Was there any other boyfriends from the past that you still associate with? Because that's a no-go for me. And she says, yes, they're just as friends. There's Eddie. He goes, oh, like Eddie, who's the guy who slept with you before we really got together? She goes, yes, but we wasn't officially together now, Warren. I was dating you, but he goes, you slept with me though. And she goes, that is fair and that is true. So yes, I will totally cut them out. So she takes out her phone, she blocks them, and she erases their numbers, permanently gone. This sets a little better with Warren. As time evolves, they do get married within, so it was 3 to 4 months of their relationship. So about 9 months later, they get married, and then she finds out she's pregnant. She's pregnant. They have a son together. Things seem to be moving accordingly. All of a sudden, Warren says, out of the blue, do you talk to any of your exes still anymore? And she goes, no, that was done a while back. And he goes, okay, I feel very secure with this relationship. I love you. We have a child together. We're married. And it's just wonderful to be your husband. But I'm not getting what I need intimately. And she's wondering, maybe he wasn't because of the baby. There was that time where maybe I wasn't as attractive to him. Maybe I wasn't doing the things that he likes in bed. So she goes, well, I'm open minded. I want you to be happy. And he goes, you say that, but I don't know if you're really going to like this. And again, how do you feel about fantasy? And so she goes, uh, as long as it doesn't become something often, I'll give you fantasy if you want. Do you want me to dress up? Do you want to pretend to be something? He goes, I'm glad you used the word pretend, because what I'd like you to pretend, and this is going to be really heavy, but it's just for fantasy. It means nothing to me. And so she says, okay, so what is it that you want? And at this point, he picked the right time, she said, because the baby was with his mother. So we have hours together. He goes, I want you to give me sex, but I want you to pretend you're with your ex, Eddie. Boom. All of a sudden, Jennifer's like, why would you want something like that? I don't even have feelings for him. I only have feelings for you. I really don't want that. And he says, look, it's just for some reason I get a little excited. Maybe it goes back to that day when you told me what transpired. So I really would like you to do this for me. I don't ask you for anything. You know, I told you honestly about the relationship and I'm not getting what I need intimately. Can we have this together? Can we do this? So she's like, if this is really what you want, he goes, but here's the catch. And she's listening. He goes, I really don't want you to think I'm going to have the lights really dim. I really want you to be in the moment, kind of like an actress. I want you to really make me believe and do the things and really be into it that you would do when you were totally madly in love with Eddie. I really want you to be in that mental state. Otherwise, it's not going to have the same effect. I want to feel the passion you have for that man. And she goes, but you have to understand, I love you. And he goes, I know, I'm asking you to act, but take it to that level where if you have to go back in time where you did have feelings for him, remember, it's only role play, it's only fantasy. And she was like thinking to herself, okay, I want to please him. I'm going to do what he requests because he seems really adamant about this. So lo and behold, she performs all of those things that create this fantasy for him. He's even asking her to the point, talk, say his name. When you're about to climax, say his name so I could really believe you're with him. So she performs perfectly for him. Lights go on, they clean up, they get dressed. He's sitting angry in the living room before they have to go get their son. And so she says, what's wrong, Warren? And he says, you still love him, don't you? And she goes, love who? Eddie? And he goes, yeah, you were really into it. I mean, you were really vibing. He goes, you were really there thinking you were making love with him. And she goes, no, I was making love to you. I gave you what you want. Oh, so you faked it, even though you told me I'm with you. I can only think of you, Warren. I'm totally with you. And he goes, no, I'm really frustrated. So now you're lying to me. You tell me one thing. How can I trust you? How can I believe that you're going to be sincere? How can I really believe that you're going to be my wife when I'm requesting? But you seem to be upset that we did do it. What if I told you I did do that? What if, no, no, now you're twisting it around. I told you what I wanted, and now we start giving her the cold shoulder. So a couple days go by, and she comes up to him because she really feels like, okay, this is something he really wants. And she says, I'm going to bring our son to my mother's. Would you like to try that again? And he gets all excited. He goes, yes, let's do it again. And they go through the whole thing. He goes, I'm really going to be with him in my mind there. Are you going to be okay with this? I'm going to be so okay with this. Please let me have this. Yes. And so she goes through, says the name. He goes, I could definitely tell the difference. You're totally there. Things finish. And he seems really upset. And she goes, what is it now? And he goes, you really were with him. You really were there. You really still do love him. You want him. And it would go around and around. She would say, I'm doing this for you. And it would turn back and forth. And he goes, okay, so did you lie to me? No, I really did think I was there, but I don't really want him. I figured you wanted this, so I was giving you what you wanted. And he's like, no, no, no. And so after that point, it would blow over. He would say, I can't believe it. You're not a good wife. He would even use their faith and saying, it's supposed to be to worship and obey, and you're not doing this. And then he would up the ante. He would utilize the worship and obey part constantly in the marriage. So years would go by, and this ritual would continue to happen. Be with this one, or tell me your ex's name before that. So two major guys that came into her life were Brad and Eddie. So she had to role play back and forth with being this, and then say, oh, you're a slut, you're this, you want this. And then he would have her change her jobs. He goes, how many men do you have there? Do you want them? Where she goes, I love my job. We'll see if they'll put you where you're mostly with women. So she was a personal trainer. She ended up going to a woman's center and working in fitness there. She started losing her identity because of what Warren would want. She felt that she was in a prison, but she goes, I now have a child. I want to make it work. I want this child to grow up with this man, but he's really driving me crazy with what he wants for me when it comes to any man. He's really, and the word is insecure. Now, she never said that until much later in different sessions, but that's exactly what's happening. He has this way where he's just feeling inferior, but he would feel a certain power of being someone else, kind of like a video game. When a person plays a video game, if they're not really assured about who they are, when they play a video game, no one sees them. So they can excel in a video game and they could be great. And this gives them another identity where people go, who don't even see this person because they might have thought I was overweight or I'm insecure, but I've really excelled in video games and people really want me to be a part of this game. So you got 20 people calling you. And now you have a different identity and people see you different things. So it builds, at least in this world, in the video game world, it builds up his self-confidence. He gets to feel reassured. Well, that's what was exactly happening to Warren. By the lights off, by pretending, by hearing her call someone else's name, it's kind of like the video game role. I can be this and I could be her everything. But when the lights were on and she had to be herself, he had to stop her from living her life, and he would give her punishments. I'm taking your phone away. Okay, you're going to have to take the bus today, but I own my own car. All of these things to control, control, control. So I say to you, what is one of the things that you would say to a person like this? This is where I want you, if you're going through this, I want you to come on the show. I want you to talk about your situation because it took years. I was with this. I did couples therapy. He would tell me something else. And you could tell when someone's just telling you something they wanted to hear. And again, I knew there was going to be difficulty for Warren to change. How did I know? Well, there's no consequences. There's no consequences. And he knows he can get away with it because when I finally met him, it was 5 years after the fact. So after 5 years after the fact, he knew, we break up, we're back together, we break up, but no one ever really left. They would say, we're getting a divorce, but they're not getting a divorce. So she goes, why does he continue to do this when he knows I could leave? And they go, there's the key word. You could leave, but you didn't. So he sees that there's no real leverage here. Yes, we yell, we scream, we make threats, we separate, we don't talk for a day, a week, a month, whatever it is, but we have to communicate. We have a child. So we try to make the best of things. We try to clear things out. We try to make things better. And that's what she was trying to do, only to fall and say, I can't take it. And finally, she's crying to me. She goes, you know the situation. You know what he tries to do. You know how he tries to put it on me, saying, I want the fantasy, she says, when I don't. And I said, I could see what he's doing, but it really has to come down to, again, what you want and the consequences of his actions, because he doesn't feel leverage. There's not enough momentum that he believes you're going to do because you want to try to keep this family together. And I think that's very admirable. But at what cost if a person's not going to change by doing this kind of therapy and that kind of therapy? And I do advise, I said to her, I go, we need to do more couples. And I need to really get into him and say, look, I know what you're doing to her. When does she get the check, the bill in the mail that you're going to stop this? I think your PTSD goes beyond utilizing what she did in the beginning of where she said, where you exclusively wasn't exclusive. So you're treating her unfairly, and then you blame her, which is narcissistic tendencies, Warren. I said, I want you to be aware of that. So perhaps your PTSD goes further back than just meeting with Jennifer. And we would talk about that. but he would show great things. But again, no consequences, not even on my end talking, not even on my end talking. So finally, again, this client has been my client for 10 years and 5 years rather. And now just a couple months ago, she says, we're finally going to get a divorce. And I said, okay, you're finally going to get a divorce. So papers are in. She goes, I have the forms, and he's looking at it for the last 3 weeks to a month. And I said, but he hasn't signed them, filled them, but he agrees to them. She goes, right. So we're on our way to get a divorce. And I said, I don't think so. And she said, what do you mean you don't think so? I said, think about it like this. I said, you could tell when someone's going to marry you, they don't really hesitate. Here's the ring. Here's this. Will you marry me? Well, when someone wants a divorce, it's the same way. Here's the papers. You sign, I sign. You already agreed to all the terms. What's holding up? Well, I'm just waiting on him. He hasn't said. He keeps telling me he's busy with work, right? But I really think he's adamant this time. I mean, we've talked, we screamed, we yelled in the past, but I really feel that he's really adamant on doing it. Why? She goes, well, he has a new belief system now, and the belief system tells me he needs to start anew with someone else. There's no one in my life, but I really feel that this will open that door for me so I can have the clarity that I need. But for Warren, this is who he is. Despite having an epiphany of this new faith or this new belief system, and I'm going to change until those papers are signed, it's not real. Okay. And what does he stand to lose now? Now there's consequences. You're really down to leave. You're really, what about the child? And how does this affect the child from then till now? And what kind of power does he lose? Because this is about power. Everything that you emphasize, from being a different identity in bed to what you can and cannot do, this is all about power. Someone usually is not going to give up that kind of power unless they have another power play in mind. So this is just another way of control, because he's done this. Divorce. The reason why you think it's real, Jennifer, is because you now have papers that you got, that you have, and you said you have several copies in case, your words, he throws those out or says he's lost them. Why would that even be a fear in your mind? Because deep down, he may do that because he does not want to lose this situation. So that's what's happening in reference with that client. So I ask you, do you know someone? Are you yourself going? Or even just comment. Comment as a male, comment as a female, comment as a cousin, comment as a friend. But let's get your feedback. And also, if you'd like to be on the show for anything that you're going through in a relationship or life in general, particularly stress, anxiety, or what have you, call in, because maybe that topic we can talk about, put it on, and you could be helping someone else. As I'm hoping that this storyline with dealing with someone that has insecurities and narcissistic tendencies and is using their relationship, where anything you do to try to power you, to guilt you, which is exactly what's happened to Jennifer. Well, let's hear if you're going through something as well, or someone you know. So I'll be looking forward in the comments, as well as your emails on who would like to be on the show. Think of a topic, think of something you want to talk about. I can talk about it here because I honor you and I'm here to serve you. That is what I want to do this for. But comment, tell me what you think about this particular subject. And until next time, have a great day or evening, wherever you are.